Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Caring for Our Community. I'm Steve Heider, and glad to have you with us again for the program. We will talk a little bit later on to Kathleen Burke from Star Kids, and also Carolyn Souza from Looking Upwards will join us. But first, we're going to get right down to business. Sue Burke, you are the Director of Child and Family Counseling Services. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about exactly who you serve.
Okay. So Child and Family's Outpatient Counseling Services serves the community of Aquidneck Island. We serve folks over in Bristol, Barrington area, as well as folks in Jamestown. Certainly anybody can come access us, but clearly, we meet with the folks that are local. We are your basic outpatient counseling program. So we serve ages anywhere from, I think our youngest right now is 3 years old, and we serve folks all the way up into their 90s. And I've heard we've had people over 100 in outpatient counseling as well.
Well, it's such a huge umbrella when you talk about counseling, and you talk about starting with what benefit would a 3-year-old get? And then conversely, obviously, as you get older, there are a lot of different issues. So I think that's probably a little bit more understandable for the average person.
Yep. So when we see young kids that age, it's usually the parent or the guardian coming in and saying, I'm really struggling with the behaviors of my 3-year-old, and I need help on, how I can best interact with my child as I'm learning my child, teaching them a bedtime routine and that sort of thing. A lot of times when kids start school, there might be behavioral issues and that sort of thing. So we work, as you can imagine, with kids that age. A lot of the work is with the parents. Certainly, clinicians work with the child as well, but working with the parents on skills to implement in the home, as well as skills in interacting with their child, and also education around, maybe what's going on with the child. So with little kids, sometimes that's when, a behavioral health provider will start seeing things that are going on for the child, such as kids that end up being diagnosed on the autism spectrum disorder. On the spectrum, we start to see signs and symptoms of that at that age. So then when we see that, we can refer them to the correct services and that sort of thing.
Wait, I'm guessing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please, younger children a lot of times maybe come from single family households, maybe lower socioeconomic situations. Do you find that that's the case, and are there more needs in those types of situations?
We actually, it's a great question. We actually see ages and folks from all of the socioeconomic levels. So certainly we see families with young kids where there is just one parent, or the guardian may be a foster parent. And because that one parent, is the only person in the household working and bringing the money, they certainly might have a higher need for assistance. But we also see married parents that, one parent is home with the child or the children, but they still need assistance. So it's really, yes, we see people low income, but we also see people that have great incomes.
So what are some of the other types of counseling other than for the young kids?
Yeah, so we see all ages. So we work with adolescents. We work with folks that are college age. We also work with older adults plus elderly. So we have our clinicians, we have 12 clinicians that work on our team, and they all have different specialties. So we have a clinician, or a few clinicians that specialize in adolescents, and then we have clinicians that specialize in children, and then some clinicians that work, really with just the adult population. We have a clinician who specializes in substance abuse and recovery. So we have adolescents as well as adults that come in with those issues and looking for assistance with that. And we also have a clinician that works with elders specifically, and she provides treatment in their home. So she travels to their home and provides the 1 hour of therapy there.
Sue Bruce is our guest. She's the Director of Counseling, Child and Family Counseling Services. And Sue, when you talk about the types of counseling and the counselors, how do you assess who you put together, and what are they? I would imagine all licensed therapists.
They are. So our clinical team is made up of licensed independent clinical social workers, as well as licensed mental health counselors, licensed marriage and family therapists. We also have a psychiatrist on board, and we have a LPN, a licensed practice nurse who works with the psychiatrist with the medication piece and that sort of thing. So clinicians have their different training and their background, and clinicians as individuals, they decide, through their own practice and career what interests them, and so they obtain training on that, and then they bring their expertise to us.
Well, I imagine this is the traditional type of counseling where you sit in an office and you talk. Now, you were telling me earlier that you're looking to start a new type of program. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. We were just licensed with the state of Rhode Island as a intensive outpatient program provider. So we're looking to create an intensive outpatient program, we call it IOP, for adolescents to meet the needs of that age group on the island. Those programs exist in Rhode Island, and they're great programs, but they're off of the island. And so for adolescents on the island, they have to travel off the island to get to that level of care. So we are hoping to bring it into Child and Family.
How long will it take to get that up and running?
We're actually in the process right now of we've written the program, we've been licensed, and now we're looking at staffing and the next steps. So I would like to see it open sometime in the summer.
Wow, it's exciting.
It's really exciting.
It must feel good to, and I know people who have benefited greatly from counseling over the years. It must feel good to be able to help people kind of sort things out.
It is, and what's really nice about the Child and Family Counseling Program and what we're doing with it is, as you know, Aquidneck Island is its own special community. I mean, it's really, even though mileage-wise we're not far from the big city of Providence, it takes a while to get there. I mean, it takes a good hour to get there. So a lot of times we have to ask community members to leave the island to get their needs met, and it's nice to be able to create what they need here on the island. So
how do people pay for it? Does insurance apply? I mean, will all that type of thing?
Yep. So we take all major insurances. We take Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island and Blue Cross and United and TRICARE and Magellan and all of those. And then we also, as you can imagine, a lot of folks don't have insurance, so we have a sliding fee scale, and they pay based on what their income is, a percentage. So folks may come in, for $20.
That opens the door to a lot more people.
It does. It's nice. Yep, it is nice. And then we contract with Kodak, who is a substance abuse provider on the island, behavioral health provider, and we, through contracting with them, we're actually able to provide services to individuals that struggle with a substance use disorder that don't have insurance, and then it can be paid for through that program. So there's no cost to those folks.
Is everyone eligible for counseling, or what's the criteria? For
counseling overall?
Yes.
Yeah, so counseling is really for any human being that wants to work on something in their life. So absolutely anybody is eligible for it. And as we talked about before, clinicians have so many different specialties that needs can certainly be met. And certainly if we have folks that come to our agency looking for help and we don't specialize, we help with referrals. So we certainly make referrals to communities on the island, or if there's referrals and programs that aren't on the island, we refer folks to other parts in the state. To other programs.
We're just about out of time. If someone wanted to get in touch, maybe have you assess them and what their needs might be, how would they reach you?
They would contact the agency at 849-2300, and they would ask to speak to the counseling program. They could certainly ask to speak to me, Sue Bruce, directly, or if I'm not available, they would be connected with a clinician there, or certainly get their needs met. Sue,
thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
appreciate it very much. That's Sue Bruce. She is the Director of Child and Family Counseling Services. Should tell you that Caring for Our Community is a presentation of Child and Family Services. We're going to be right back after this. Kathleen Burke from Star Kids joins us as we continue with Caring for Our Community.
Child and Family Services has been caring for the community since 1866. Our new Community Center on John Clark Road in Middletown offers help and support to families from Newport County and beyond. Programs include Sandpiper's Early Learning Center for infants to preschool ages children, counseling services, support programs for teens, elder care services, and more. Child and Family is where people turn for help with personal and family emergencies and crises. To learn more, visit childandfamilyri.com or call this number.
Welcome back to Caring for Our Community. Steve Heider with you as we continue, and it is a great pleasure now to welcome a couple of people here, a tremendous program I'm really excited to talk about with Kathleen Burke and Rasan Matra. And Kathleen, you're the Executive Director for Star Kids Scholarship Program, and Rasan, you are, I guess for lack of a better term, a beneficiary of said program.
Yeah.
All right, well, Kathleen, let's start with you and talk a little bit about how this came about and what it does, because I think people would be floored by this.
Great. We began in 2000. Dr. Tim Flanagan, who is a doctor in Providence, he works both at Miriam Hospital, Rhode Island Hospital, and Brown University, had been doing his work within some institutions in the area. And one of the greatest concerns that he had when he spoke to HIV patients in the jails were their offspring. They weren't so much concerned about themselves, but about their children and their futures. With that embedded the idea of STAR Kids in the main criteria of our program is that our students have to be children whose parents or parent has a history of incarceration and or substance abuse. So it began in 2000 with 6 students, and now we're delighted to say that we have 136 students in Newport County, Fall River, Massachusetts, and New Bedford.
Well, it sounds like it's a shame that there's a need for a program like that, but
Yeah.
man, it's so great that you're able to fill the needs of some very worthy recipients.
Yeah, and it's really the tip of the iceberg in the sense that there's so much need out there. We're able to certainly address a part of it. Our goal for each chapter, we have 2 chapters, one being Newport and Fall River. We have 84 students in that chapter. We spun off a chapter in New Bedford, which has 52 students in its chapter, but our goal is to have 100 students in each. So we're getting close to our goal, but there's certainly an endless need out there.
Rahsaan, you're a junior at Portsmouth Abbey. Tell me a little bit about what this program has meant to you.
This program has basically given me the opportunity to pursue an education, like really become something, because nowadays, you know, education is pretty much everything. And it was thanks to my mom, you know, she was able to find this program and get me into it, but if it wasn't for her, I'd probably be another person in Fall River.
What kind of difference, can you maybe pinpoint 1 or 2 things? What kind of difference has it made in your life?
The difference between private and public school. There's the difference between Catholic and regular, like not being able, like, thanks to this program, I was able to really foster both my religion and my mind, and also my creativity, because they helped me pay for guitar lessons and all kinds of different programs, like summer programs. I'm actually going to Spain this summer, so.
Well, let's talk about that, because, I mean, how excited are you about that? And I mean, you're blowing it out. You're doing everything. You're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to ride this to the fullest. I really can't explain how excited I am about going to Spain. Bienvenidos. Suerte.
Kathleen, is Rahsaan typical of the type of student that benefits?
Well, I hearken back to what Rahsaan said, which is that his mother took advantage, you know, saw this opportunity and went with it, which is so much of the success of the program is that strong advocate at home who's doing the work behind the scenes and getting the children to school every day and making the partnership work, in the sense that the majority of our students are going to schools, as Rahsaan mentioned, the Catholic schools. We have quite a few Catholic schools represented within our program, in addition to private schools like St. Michael's, Penfield School, or some of the private schools as well. But within those small structured environments, the children thrive better to their abilities because of all the supports that are in place. And as Rahsaan mentioned, they're able to be fully part of the community because of all the extras that we support. We don't just throw the tuition at the schools and say, you know, good luck with all the extras. We actually, in addition to what Rahsaan mentioned, we also provide uniforms, tutoring where needed, and additional support. Sometimes it's a lunch meal or transportation that children need.
For example, I remember, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
But I remember in 7th grade, they provided my school supplies, like pencils, pens, crayons, markers, like simple essentials. But
Makes a big
it
difference,
really
though.
made a big difference.
Now,
a long way.
we had mentioned that this is a program for students whose parents may have a history of incarceration and or drug use. What other criteria is it? Is that if you are a victim or a child of that type of an upbringing, automatically you're in, or how does it all work?
There's a process by which it does also have to be low income, so you do have to meet the criteria of being a low income family. Also, the child does go through an application process just as if they were applying to a school, so the parents do have to have the fortitude to get online or seek out an application, complete the application. They also have to come with a recommendation from, be it a counselor or an agency that they're working with, to support their application. And if they are coming at a later time, be it kindergarten or first grade and they're in school already, they'll be getting a recommendation from the school itself. And then part of the empowerment of the program also is that they then also have to seek acceptance to the school to which they're interested. So if they want to go to a certain school, they also apply to that school, receive acceptance to that school, and then we do the funding of $3,500, which is what we pay in support of each child to attend the school.
Wow. Rasan, has this opened doors for you in terms of, I mean, you're a junior now, so you've got to start to be thinking about what you're going to do after you graduate from Portsmouth Abbey?
I would have to say that this has definitely opened probably the most doors, like the most opportunities. Literally, the world is my oyster. Like right now, like thanks to this program, I'm able to like go into any direction, and that's definitely something that I'm gonna take advantage of, and that I appreciate. Like I come from a city, you know, Fall River.
Sure. There's
so many kids that don't have this opportunity, that they're living literally in a bad situation, and for me to be able to rise up out of that and to be have such an open opportunity and have so many ways that I can go, there's only appreciation and gratitude.
It's nice to feel like you can do anything.
Yeah.
Kathleen, I know you rely a great deal on grants and donations, and to that end, you'll be having a fundraiser coming up pretty soon.
Yes, so we have, as you mentioned, quite a few donors who support our students on a year or further basis. And then our big fundraiser is going to be our 10th annual soiree at Carnegie Abbey, April 28th. And that is one of the big bulk of our operating budget every year is from the soiree event. And we're actually having something new and different this year, which is we're going to have the James Montgomery Blues Band play from 7 to 10, which is going to be great fun. And we actually have some of our own Star Kids as our special guest appearance, one of whom is Rasan, who will be our lead guitarist along with James Montgomery. And
dude, that's big,
so
you know, expensive company.
Yeah,
I was telling Rasan before we started the program tonight that James, and I had the pleasure to work with him a couple of times. He's been around so long and is so successful. He had Aerosmith open for him back in the days, and he's worked with Bonnie Raitt and some other people. So better make sure you practice.
Yeah.
I'm on it every day. I'm on it every day.
Phone number. How do people get in touch to get learn about the program or to go to the fundraiser?
They can either visit Child and Family. I have an office space there, so they can visit me at the office. They can go online at www.starkidsprogram.org, or they can call me at the direct line at 401-848-4187. And in terms of our population, just so you know, we like to attract children to the program between kindergarten and grade 4, obviously believing that the earlier there's intervention and encouragement of education, the more successful they will be. And Rasan's a perfect example of how that program works, because Rasan came to us 11 years ago as a first grader, and that is just the ultimate success story of what can come when there's that early intervention and follow through. The end goal for us in our program, our mission, is to see our children graduate high school. So that is our end zone, but it's just the beginning for these children and what they can become. We have 12 graduates to date, and they've all gone on to higher education. So it's a tremendous opportunity, which we're very grateful for.
I want to thank you both for being with us. Great stuff. Congratulations to you and to you, Rasan, for what you're doing. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to speak to Carolyn Souza. She's from Looking Upwards. We're going to take a quick time out here. You're watching Caring for Our Community.
Sandpiper's Early Learning Center provides quality early care and a rewarding educational experience. This state-of-the-art child care center, located in Child and Family's new community center in Middletown, supports the total growth and development of children, providing a creative curriculum for infants, yearlings, toddlers, and preschoolers up to age 5. For more information, call 401-849-2300 or stop by and meet with one of our professionally trained educators at the Child and Family Community Center.
We're back. This is Caring for Our Community. I'm Steve Heider. Glad to have you with us. And it is my pleasure to say hi to Carolyn Souza. Carolyn is the clinical supervisor of Looking Upward's Early Intervention Program. Carolyn, what does that mean?
I'm the supervisor of the program, which means I kind of bring in all of the children and assign, someone to go out and work with the parents and figure out kind of how we can best support. Our program is about working with children from 0 to 3 and working with their needs that the parents either have identified, their daycare, their doctor, and supporting them through a coaching model to help them to learn skills that will bring them up to the developmental curve that they need to be at for their age.
We're going to delve deeper into this, obviously, but I want to ask you first about Looking Upwards, because Looking Upwards has been around for quite a while, and I think a lot of people have heard of it. Maybe some folks don't really know what you're all about.
Yeah, Looking Upwards has been around close to 35 years and began working with adults with developmental disabilities, supporting them both in their homes and in their workplace. And that home environment can be a variety, and including those that still live at home with their parents. And they also, about 15 years ago, decided to go ahead and support children too. And that continued for a good 10 years before they decided to bring in early intervention.
The range and the scope of what Looking Upwards does is much wider than just the early intervention program.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes from adults with developmental disabilities, children of all ages, supporting them with 2 other programs that are also within the state funding stream, and then we also do some family counseling and just general supports of families 0 to whenever.
Well, when we talk about early intervention, what exactly can an infant or a newborn be taught?
You'd be surprised. And a lot of it is about really coaching and working with the parents. But if we get children that are just a few days old, and some may have actually problem feeding, and if that's the case, we may bring in our occupational therapist who may be able to help with some of the oral and motor skills that are needed for that. And that's about teaching the child, but it's also supporting the parent on how to grow those skills.
So it's just as much for the mother, for the father, as it might be for the baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually it's for all caregivers. So we go into the home, we go into the daycare. If there's a grandparent that's involved or a good friend who's involved, whoever we go, it's what's called the natural environment of the child. And we support all of those caregivers so that they all grow their skills to support the child so that they can reach their optimum.
We're talking to Carolyn Souza from Looking Upwards. And what are some of the other things that you teach the children, the parents? What are some of the basics that people benefit from?
Well, we have a variety of clinicians that work with us. And so the referrals that we get have many different needs. It can be something, a delay in language, a delay in, let's say, skills like walking and crawling. There also can be sometimes where it's behavioral challenges where, I've gotten families that give a call and say, gee, we're going to be kicked out of daycare, can you support us? And when we go in, we find out that there may be some other needs that child has that may be making it hard for them to kind of regulate their body when they're in daycare. So we can go in and kind of support that. We have an infant mental health team along with our occupational therapist. Sometimes it's a speech therapist or a physical therapist that help, but it's all based on that coaching model. We sometimes only go in, as little as a couple times a month. So we give homework and we ask people to kind of work on things in between visits. And then there's other children that they may have a number of people that are going in to see them because they may have a disability that they were born with and need a lot of support to grow their muscles, to be able to even support their own body, sitting up and growing through all the various stages of development. That first year is crucial when it comes to gross motor skills.
You mentioned earlier infant mental health. Tell me a little bit about what that is.
Well, the infant mental health, when we look at it, we look at the family health in general. Sometimes it can be, these are tough times we're all working under, and for some families, they may have a child that was born with a disability and they're learning to cope with that disability. There's a kind of a mourning period that goes through that. So we would support the parents, and by supporting them, we're helping the child's mental health. There can also be, I'm a social worker myself, and I work with a lot of 2-year-old little boys that like to have a lot of energy that can make staying in daycare a little bit of a challenge. And so we have various ways that we go about doing that, a lot about routines and teaching simple things like transitioning and going from one to another, and that some children, if they just have a little bit of warning that an activity that they really like is going to end and that they're still going to go on to something else that they like, that warning can help them. And that's really simplifying it, but those are like one of the many tools. And it's about giving that toolbox that we kind of come in with and coaching it up and using the skills and knowledge that the parent or caregiver has, and kind of bringing in our toolbox, adding their information, and kind of blossoming it to a whole range of support that the families can use to optimize the child's growth.
You mentioned the word transition, and I would think that the children who are part of your program benefit as they transition into kindergarten, first grade.
Absolutely. Actually, that's part of our program, is starting at 28 months. We help them begin to look at what comes next after early intervention, if they're still continuing to need some support. Often that's transitioning into their local school department. There actually is a program that you can do, and it can be as basic as walk-in services, or it can be more extensive, that it can be including a classroom placement. But sometimes it's actually not education related and more motor, or that infant mental health, and we, Child and Family Services might be one of the places we refer to, or some of the mental health center, if that's the intensity that the child needs. So there's a variety of ways that we all interconnect as a community to support these children as they move on from us.
Carolyn, unfortunately, we're just about out of time. How would people get in touch with you if they'd like to take advantage of what Looking Upwards offers?
Sure, they can give a call at 293-5790. Lacey Givens would answer the phone, and she is our intake coordinator. If you have specific questions about, is this the right thing for my child, I'm extension 310, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for anyone.
Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate your time. That is going to just about do it for today's program. We want to thank Sue Bruce for joining us, also Kathleen Burke and Rasan Matra, and of course Carolyn Souza. Thank you. Appreciate you watching, and we'll be back again real soon. I'm Steve Heider. Thanks for watching Caring for Our Community. It is a presentation of Child and Family Services.